Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Catechism for Kids. Today, we're going to answer a very important question. What is the sanctuary? It's the space in front of the altar where the priest stands to celebrate the Holy Mass. But have you ever wondered why it's placed in such a special part of the church? What does it mean that the sanctuary is so sacred? And what should we do to show proper respect when we're in this special place? Let's dive into today's video and discover these answers together. The sanctuary, also called the Holy Table or the Presbytery, is the place where the altar, tabernacle, lectern, and priest's chair are usually found. It's the spot in the church where the action of the Mass takes place. Have you ever noticed that it's often slightly raised above the rest of the floor? This is to remind us that the sanctuary is a special, even holy place, because it's the spot where heaven meets earth. In other words, it's the place where God draws close to us and becomes present among us. Priests and other ministers move within the sanctuary during services. The word sanctuary is generally defined as a location that is holy, sacred, or set apart. In many ways, the Catholic sanctuary was designed to mimic the Holy of Holies in the Jerusalem temple. It was the place where only the priests were allowed to offer sacrifice to God. In the Old Testament, sanctuary was the special place where God's presence was most clearly seen and felt. For example, when Moses met God in the desert, he saw a bush that was on fire but not burning up. When Moses got closer to the bush, God called out to him and told him to take off his sandals, because he was standing on holy ground. That's why we see pictures of Moses with no shoes on. In the same way, when we enter the sanctuary, we should remember that we're entering into the presence of God. He might be less visible than a burning bush, but God is really there. So just like Moses, we should show God that we respect and love him by showing reverence in the sanctuary. But why do we need to show more reverence in the sanctuary than in other parts of the church? Well, that's because in the sanctuary, God becomes truly present in the Eucharist, which is the food that gives us eternal life. In other words, when we enter the sanctuary, we should act differently because God is there. We should kneel or bow our heads when we pass by the tabernacle, which is where Jesus is kept after he's in the Blessed Sacrament. We should pay attention when the priest enters the sanctuary and begins preparing for Mass. And we should always remember that we're in the presence of God. The Holy of Holies was separated from the rest of the temple by a veil, making the actions of the priest invisible to the rest of the people. Initially, this concept was carried out, and still is in Byzantine churches, with an iconostasis, an entire wall that blocked the sanctuary from view. This wall was also seen in some Roman Catholic churches, though over time it was gradually reduced. And the altar rail is the last remaining remnant of this tradition in the West. Additionally, the sanctuary is further set apart from the rest of the church by the presence there. In most churches of the tabernacle, the small box that houses the consecrated Eucharistic hosts, this is indicated by a red lamp that notifies everyone of the presence of God. So to sum up everything, the sanctuary is the place in church where heaven meets earth, where God draws close to us and becomes truly present. Because it's such a special, holy place, we should act differently here than in other parts of the church. We should walk slowly and quietly. We should kneel or bow our heads when we pass by the tabernacle. And we should pay attention when the priest enters the sanctuary and begins preparing for Mass. The sanctuary is a holy and sacred place. It's reserved for a specific function and is designed to facilitate our worship of God. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed learning more about the sanctuary, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comments down below. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And who knows, you might even get to see your comment on screen. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time on Catechism for Kids.